Alrighty gamers, today I have for you the 1-bar DK PvP build I've been playing on stream this week with the new spammable. This thing is a battleground menace for 1-bar. I have some advanced tips and tricks for you at the end, as well as some gameplay. For those who don't watch streams, let me break down a super fast highlight reel game here so you can see what's possible. I like to show receipts of what I'm giving you so you can see that it actually works and it's not just words. The white numbers here is damage and the yellow is team healing. We did about 2.5 million damage, with the next closest person being over 1 million less damage. But we also did the most healing to our team out of everybody in the entire game, even more than the hybrid builds who were splitting their time between damage and healing. And this was with one button. That's some of the power of this healing contingency ability and the way I use it with dodge rolls I've been trying to show you. That healing is mostly in stride of your own combat, just passively elevating the team around you. We also had a super solid KDA and participated in 63 kills, of which the next closest person is down to 49. All of this is a ton of weight being brought to the BGs, especially in a melee based build where you have to constantly close the gap, and all with 1-bar. I'm also going to break down some of the nuances of the playstyle. It's a little bit different due to the throwing knife spammable, and there's some unique ways that you can use it. I have the written guide up and available for you as well now over at the GAMEROOM.tv. Let's go. You want a stamina based race for this. I think for this one a Nord is best in slot. Reason being is we get the health and stamina which we need, extra Nord resistances which are greatly needed, and extra ultimate generation which is perfect for this playstyle. I'll explain why in a bit. I also think an Imperial is very good here as well, but you can make it work with any stamina based race. We're splitting our attribute points between health and stamina to have about 30k HP and BGs. We're also using the Serpent Mundus, Bear Haunch Food, and Tripods for your potions. The spammable we're using is very expensive, and the set of Essence Thief helps out quite a lot there. It has decent stamina stats, restores stamina, heals you, and increases your damage done by 10%, which is a lot of percent. Every 10 seconds or so, one of these green orbs will spawn. Just walk over it, and you'll get the heal, stamina, and the buff. It's a great set for this type of build, and that 10% buff to damage is significant. Next, we're using the Savara set. It's a fantastic set for the condensed nature of BGs. It's guaranteed to proc on cooldown with a very short timer, and it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving because it will continuously proc off of your dots as well and has 0 positional requirement compared to something like the Venomous set. Also, you can just walk up to groups and use breath, and the whole group in front of you is instantly double dotted with breath and Savaras. It's fantastic for chewing up groups in BGs. We put all this together like this with a helm of your choice with a line of weapon damage, Oaken Soul, and 2 maces. I play very dodge roll heavy with my 1-bar builds. It's one of the best ways to mitigate the most damage on a 1-bar setup, band-aiding the lack of a defensive set and or back-bar defensive utility. It's also just a super nasty playstyle and oppressive to play against once you get proficient at it. I'm going to show you a few tricks with it here in just a moment as well. So that said, we have 6 well-fitted medium pieces here with 1 reinforced heavy chest. You absolutely need 6 medium due to the medium armor passives, increasing our stamina sustain, reducing the cost of our abilities, which is very important, making us move faster while sprinting, and increasing our weapon damage, which increases the Savara's tooltip, reducing the cost of our dodge rolls. If you're newer to the game, read your armor passives. They're very important for your builds. We want all of our armor tri-enchanted and fused on jewelry with physical harm enchants, and then double dot poisons for your maces. This is mainly for Battlegrounds. I wouldn't run around solo and Cyrodiil anymore with not all, but most 1-bar builds. The game's just changed a lot, and outside of a few specific type of 1-bar builds, any proficient player is just going to run you down in an open field alone. But for those who just insist on doing it, I put some suggested CP for you up on the written guide. But just know this one, as is primarily for BGs. For our abilities, I'm going to explain Knife last because that's the engine of the whole build. Everything works around. First, we have our Stun, Shattering Rocks. Stuns a player and heals you. Also gives us access to the important passive of Mountain's Blessing, giving us the super rare buff of Minor Brutality, which will increase your Savara's tooltip to right at 11k, which is very good. I just use Frag Shield here to show you to proc the passive since I can't stun a target dummy for the video. I often get asked about why people's Savara's tooltips isn't the same for them. It's very sensitive to weapon damage and its scaling, so if yours is less, then you simply do not have the identical setup, including the CP slotted that's on the written guide. You missed something somewhere. Next is Healing Contingency, just totally busted for 1-bar builds and also BGs. I have a guide here for you if this is new. I'll link in the video description. There are ways to use this that it's not intuitive on the tooltip. I can't recommend enough that you check this short guide out. It will unquestionably elevate your play, bringing some new ways to do things to the table. This is going to heal us and give us a hot plus the people around us, and also give us our minor resolve buff. Burning Embers places a flame dot and burning status effect on the target and heals you. You can spread this around to a few targets for even more healing if needed. Noxious Breath, a poison dot, and also gives us our major breach. And then Ferocious Leap for our ulti. I think this is better than the other version for BGs. You'll often be leaping into teams, and this takes the edge off, helping you finish off your target safely. And the big one, Shattering Knife, the dual wield scribing spammable. That's 100% busted and broken right now. We use the script of multi-target, which basically throws a frag grenade out and does AoE damage to everything it hits, adding even more team pressure in fights. Then a huge script of War Mage's defense. This script is one of the reasons the whole setup is so busted. This gives you a shield every use. After Battle Spirit and no CP, it's a little over 3k. That may not sound like much, but that's 3k every single second being refreshed when you're spamming this. This mitigates a ton of damage and dots and just junk coming at you, keeping you mobile and aggressive and requiring less downtime to react and heal through damage. There's a difference between the function of healing up lost health and preventing health loss. They impact your play differently. One requires being reactive and the other is just a passive health loss mitigation. You're just passively shielding through junk like dots and stuff. You don't even know what's happening and you can just keep chopping forward a lot of times. You're going to absolutely catch some people off guard who aren't expecting that from a Stamdk in that way, especially with one bar. And last, an important script of Expedition, giving you basically permanent movement speed, which is very important, especially since we're melee based. One of the overpowered things here and what catches people off guard constantly is this isn't just a melee spammable. You can start trucking people way before you ever get to them. And then if you or they back off, you can still keep tunneling into them and finish them off from ranged. It's a little silly sometimes. People try to escape and just keep catching the hands up to 15 yards away, and the only loss in damage you have in those windows is light attacks, since it also procs your poisons, being a weapon ability. A finesse you need to practice and learn is the use of shattering rocks. There's lots of ways to use this, but I'll show you the two main combos that I do depending on the type of player I run up on. If someone is squishy or not being very reactive and you can tell, then I just run up and breath, embers, stun, and then leap if it's up. If not, just start parsing on them with knife. By the time they come out of stun, it's usually over with for them if they didn't already die in the stun. That little combo is just a bully combo for anything even remotely squishy. On that note, use your leap constantly. You should never be up for more than a handful of seconds in fights. It's cheap. We have minor heroism from Oakensol. We have the Nord ulti passives. Every second it's up is a wasted go hard attempt. Use it constantly. I can't overstate that enough, especially since it's also a huge sustain tool to the DK passives, and this is a very thirsty build. One of the other combos I use is kind of the opposite of that, sort of. If they are tanky or super proficient and you can tell, you want to try to get the jump on them with the opening with stun first and then run through your breath, embers, knife parsing, because now you have the advantage for some seconds while they're catching up to you, getting you dotted or whatever, and then also having to heal themselves through what you just did to them. Keep up the sustained pressure from here by literally treating them like a target dummy and parsing on them with knife. This will give you crazy damage mitigation with the shielding from War Mage's script, and then you're just pumping out damage, keeping them on their heels a lot of the time. And then when their CC cooldown comes back up, restun them and leap. Even some sweats aren't going to expect that sometimes, especially with the sustained damage you can do between stuns and the damage mitigation with the shielding. A couple of more tips or tricks I'm going to leave you with before I get out of here. We're running 6 wolf fitted, and we're also using contingency. If you watch the contingency video or watch me play on stream, you've seen how aggressively I use those two. You aren't squishy if you're playing slippery. If you're just treating this like a 2 to 3 piece heavy armor impenetrated meta DK build, trying to just juggernaut walk people down, then yes, you're going to get blown up. But if you abuse what the build has, you can come out on top of the same situations. I have some quick clips of the Blade Slinger 2-bar Nightblade I'm working on for solo Cyrodiil setups, and I'm going to use those clips real quick because I have them right here and ready. I don't need to fish through a bunch of DK BG footage to find the perfect examples. So even though this is on the Nightblade, it's the same idea on every class. When a proficient player CCs you, typically they're about to blow you up. Get good at instantly breaking CC and instantly dodge rolling at the same time. I use mouse wheel back to break CC and mouse wheel forward to dodge roll. So in one lightning fast back and forth flick of my mouse wheel, I've broken the CC almost at the exact time it landed and instantly iframed out of there with a dodge roll. If you're playing someone who's being a little predictable, you can prep contingency for it, and then dodge roll is also going to give you a heal at the same time in that iframe. So you just completely shut down their entire go on you with a 1-second flick of the mouse wheel, and now it's your turn. I also use the mouse wheel press in for contingency, so all 3 actions can be done in one quick combination on the mouse wheel. If I see a DK flying at me in the air, I'm already spinning the mouse wheel and I can break the CC even before I land on the ground a lot of times. Also, you can dodge roll weave your damage abilities with a light attack. So weaving in intermittent dodge rolls during a fight. Kind of a top shelf example here is in the moments when you feel the momentum shifting to the enemy player and you're slipping a bit, you can prep a contingency, dodge roll light weave your next attack ability, and what you've done is weaved in an iframe into your combat, dodging most sources of damage in that moment, healed yourself, reapplied your heal over time, all while keeping most of your damage up on the enemy, not losing much if any momentum that you had. That's a lot of things in one global, and all I did was dodge roll weave one button there. It's a lot of words to explain what's happening, but it's simple to do with practice. Take advantage of the build you're using, capitalizing on its strengths. All this just happened during a dodge roll in 1 second, while being mostly untouchable. I hope you can start to see some of the power of really capitalizing on wolf-fitted traits a bit. Don't trait all well fitted and then just never take advantage of it. There are countless things you can do like this to elevate your game. And that's it for me, gamers. I hope you enjoyed the build and the tips and tricks help elevate your game a bit. I'll leave you some gameplay so you can see the build in action. If you liked the video or learned something today, please consider subscribing. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.
Money that I don't accept. Like this. Like this. She doesn't not took it. She said we should hook up the boyfriend and booger. Don't know me, then look at my being the clouds. Full full of Henny, I drink in a clown.